All aboard!
Well, good evening, everyone, and welcome to Environmental Coffee House, where we aim to please. And welcome Allan Huey, my buddy, which we know each other personally, and he is huge rail buff, rail historian, rail expert, and he has other things that are part of him, which I'm going to let him tell you. I just want to say hi to everybody first. Hello, Billy Joe and Midas Lisa, Poppy Davis, Bila, Kim, thank you for moderating. Val, AC, AB, Desert File, so glad to have you here. It's great. Obsolete Optics and BB, the crowd's all here. Poppy, the crowd's all here. Scott's probably here. Reverend's here. So, hello, Alan.
Hello, Sandy. Hello, everybody. Welcome aboard.
Welcome aboard. I don't have my little noises set up. Woo! I took them out. I don't know what happened to them. So what's going on, Alan? Tell us about yourself.
Okay, I was a analytical specialist in the chemical industry. In other words, I did things like nuclear magnetic resonance, infrared spectroscopy, UV vis, and a whole bunch of other things. But yeah, but my avocations were a little more interesting to everybody. Like kayaking and hiking and wandering into caves, wandering into abandoned railroad tunnels, old
Cool stuff.
following trains. I actually started out following the history of trains, and when I did do live trains, it would be historical steam trains. But then I got involved with a bunch of guys who,
Guys.
yeah, they were guys who we would all pile in the car and chase trains and go out and photograph them, and it was crazy, but it was a lot of fun.
Cool.
So we did that for years, and then I watch birds and feed birds and do the other things out in nature. So I know, all you guys are, the East Palestine debacle is on your minds, and
Absolutely.
Norfolk Southern and what it's been doing and how it operates is also on your minds. But I would like to just take you a little further back into railroading and also talk a little bit more about how trains work.
Cool.
What is a railroad and what does a train do and how does it do it? But if you would put up the Scranton comb pile photograph.
All right, that is the first one. We have a little bit of feedback, and I don't know if it's because you don't have a mic, but we're going to do the best we can.
Okay, can everybody hear me well or?
We can hear you. Just a
Okay,
few little noises, but I'll get you set up to be a YouTuber.
all right, good. What you're looking at is something I saw when I was probably 4 or 5 years old, when I finally became conscious that there was a world out there and could remember it. And here I am in the back of some probably, I don't think it was the Kaiser, probably in the back of the old Chevy. We didn't have seat belts, it was just a big seat. And I'm standing there, peering over the front seat with my parents in the front, heading down the hill into the Wyoming Valley. Now, most people wouldn't know it as the Wyoming Valley, but it stretches from Carbondale southward to Wilkes-Barre for about 30 miles and is just was filled with anthracite. Now it's filled with 7 layers of mines underneath it and water.
Mm,
Um, and we were just going to visit the grandparents, and we had to cross the valley. And I looked down into the town, and what do I see? Clouds and stench. Oh, a sulfuric stench and just clouds of pollution.
mm.
And, you know, the paint is falling off the houses. And, luckily I was going to go, my grandparents lived up on the other side, up on top of the hill where it wasn't as polluted. But what you're looking at is the debris from the coal mining. And the
That's
coal mining
amazing.
is what made the trains. You can't get away from it. Coal and trains are intertwined and still are to a good degree. So, you know, as a child, I'm wandering around the top of coal mines and I could see ventilation shafts, and at the other end of my grandparents' street was a fan house for a coal mine.
Oh
They
my
weren't
gosh.
operating at that point. The coal mines are pretty much dead. I think it was somewhere around 55 where the um, the mines had filled with water. They pumped some out and started mining again, but somebody made a mistake in engineering, and the Susquehanna River broke through.
Ooh.
Luckily, the guys managed to escape. I think most of them did, but that was pretty much the end of coal mining in that valley.
Oh my God.
I think there might be a small amount, but I've been down in coal mines. Um,
What was
you
it
ever,
like? What
you ever
was
been
it
down in coal
like?
mines, Andy?
What?
You ever been down in a coal mine?
No, honey, I can't say I have been. The closest I've been to a
No.
coal mine is Howe Caverns, which is in New York State. That's as
Well,
close I've been.
Well, how about at the end we show them how to go down into a coal mine? One
Well,
of
we
them,
we, we
one of
will
them.
try. We will
Anyway,
try.
some more scary than others. Oftentimes, it's an elevator that you grab onto when you're packed full, and you go deep down hundreds of feet, and it's damp and it's dark. And in the old days, you had a little acetylene lamp on your head, on your helmet, so you could barely see anything. And hopefully, you didn't have to pull any of your fellow coal miners out from when
No,
the roof broke through.
a little scary. A little scary. Hmm?
Yeah. So that was the valley there that had Scranton and all those towns, and it just filled with towns. Still is. Um, but from there, you got the railroads because you have a problem. There's topography, and in 1812, we were attacked by the British, and there were eventually, I think, several hundred ships off the coast blocking any imports and also
Wow.
blocking the only secure place we had to get coal, because I don't think there were that many trees left,
Hmm.
was Sorry about that.
It's okay. We're all used to that.
And they were blocking the Virginia coal from coming up into the New York area, so or anywhere else. And the only other coal came from the people that were attacking us, Great Britain. Now, at that point, it became obvious that we needed our own sources of fuel, and it just so happens, I think it was the two guys who supplied uniforms to our army to fight them were given a bunch of land up in northeastern Pennsylvania. And they formed the D&H Canal, the Delaware and Hudson, and eventually, I guess, the D&H Railroad.
You got to turn off your phone, Alan,
Okay,
or
I'll,
silence it, hun.
I'll turn it
You're
down.
so popular.
Oh, I am at times.
He's so popular.
I can't believe it, but every time I go to silence it, oh, there you go. I think that's it.
Some emergency happens, right?
Always. And
Okay.
probably a question. Okay, so they had a problem with getting the coal out of the valley because when you're in a valley, you're surrounded by mountains, and mountains have you have to lift all this weight. Trains are good for lifting weight, but at the time, the trains were very weak, and they did try. Eventually, of course, the war had gone over, and they did try a train, an engine, locomotive, and it was just not powerful enough to get up the hills. So they did the other thing. If if you could put oh, the Mount Pisgah picture up.
Okay. All right. Let's get to the pictures. All right. Here we go.
What you're seeing there is the evolution of a gravity railroad. Um, Originally, mules were used to bring the coal. In this case, this is the one by Jim Thorpe, which back then was Mount's Chunk. Um, and you're seeing the upgrade. At the top is a you can see the two chimneys, the stationary um, engines.
Hmm.
And what you did was you hauled up your empties, and then you sent them to the mine at Summit Hill, which was 8 9 miles away. They had another one more haul, and then they came back down a gravity loop, loaded. This eventually became an amusement park ride.
It did?
Usually, as the coal in the area, wasn't as
Oh.
needed. But and in fact, it lasted quite a while. I've hiked it. Luckily, I came down that hill. It's steep. But what they would do is use cables and haul things up hills, and then gravity would run things further. There were several of them. Um, the one at the D&H, there's one next to it. I think it was a Pennsylvania coal company or some such thing, which they had you essentially haul it up, you run the car sideways for short ways to the next inclined plane, and put the cables on, haul it up, and then you on the way back, the empties run a different loop with less grade or longer grade,
Hmm.
and so they don't build up too much speed, and away you go. Now, that was the way you got rail cars out of these valleys and to usually to the canals. And if you could put up the next one, thank you. Here's inclined plane on this is the Morris Canal. I could do a whole show on this one with no problem. At the top on the left, you'll see a building. That is where the water comes in.
Okay.
And they couldn't just do locks on this canal. This brought the coal across New Jersey over the hills of New Jersey. I don't know, it was 800 feet lift or whatever total, 900 feet. But it was too steep for just locks, so they did these inclined planes again with ropes and then cables. And this is essentially a cage sitting part. The bottom part is underwater, and the
Yeah.
canal boat, which has come down the Lehigh Canal and then across the Delaware into this. It sits in there, it gets towed up, then floats along on a nice long puddle of water to a
Oh.
lock and then up a little bit. And finally it'll come. I don't recall how many there were, 30 or so of these across to get across New Jersey, all the way to
And
Hoboken to the
and where
plant.
is Pisgah?
Where is Mount it's where Jim Thorpe is.
Yeah.
Jim Thorpe, Pennsylvania. The
Okay.
Switzerland of Pennsylvania, they
Pennsylvania.
call it. Beautiful area. Very historical stuff there.
Okay,
To see. So,
Pennsylvania, Kay.
Jim Thorpe.
Yeah.
And they stole his name. They had him actually buried
Okay.
there for a while.
Oh my
But I think his wife finally took him back. But yeah, so you have this problem with height until the things got so powerful, the engines got powerful enough that you could take longer routes and get around the mountain. But always, let's see what the next picture is.
Okay.
Oh yeah, yeah. Everybody's talking about
Scranton.
safety. Yeah, that's Scranton. That's the DL&W, Delaware, Lackawanna, Western Yard, back around 1900. Um, Everybody talking about rail safety. You didn't want to be working on the railroad if you worried about safety at that time.
Oh
Number
boy.
one, just look at the air. Okay, what are you breathing? And combined with you're out there as railroaders are now, out in every kind of weather. All you have is a lantern for signaling at night. It's icy, it's snowy, it's cold, it's rainy, it's whatever. And you know, you're hopefully, you're in a caboose and hopefully somebody who sees something wrong with a bridge or something will wave you down and stop the engine because they had track walkers.
Track walkers.
Now we have
Okay.
uh, now we have pickup trucks
All
with
right.
wheels on them that go and check the rails before the trains come through oftentimes. But safety in those days when you're walking on top of cars that are wobbling back and forth in the dark and setting because they didn't have necessarily early on they didn't have all the pneumatic brakes, so you oftentimes had to set several brakes to go down a hill and hopefully it didn't fall off. It, my grandfather was a conductor for 50 years on that railroad. He had guys
He
working.
was 50 years. Oh.
Yeah, well, World War II came and they pulled him out of retirement because all the young guys were taken away.
Oh my gosh.
So he did
Wow.
4 years working on the railroad. Um, he was a tough fellow. Now, what's our next one?
Our next one is, oh,
Ah,
that's nice.
well, as you can see, things went wrong here.
I
This
would say
is
so.
this is again in Pennsylvania, Whitehaven. Just the town is on the left, and the railroad has broken. It's been a flood. On the left hand side, toward the front, is one of the locks for the Lehigh Canal. This section was abandoned early. It probably kept getting destroyed. But you see part of the dam which held the water back, and essentially they would take the canal boats in, flush, open these giant locks. As you can see, this was all hand built. All they had was some mules and handwork, 6 foot thick or more walls on it of stone, and they would flush the canal boat out, and, open it up, and they get flushed down down the next set of rapids and to the next pool and lock.
Did
And
you
one
say flush?
flush, yes, these are flush. In other words, it's definitely not flush. And with the broken bridge with the cold cars sitting on it, I mean, everybody's going to be happy about that. But
Look at that. Scary
yeah,
shit.
but yeah, when you have when the railroads are out, railroads are out in nature, and nature does wild things. Uh,
Hmm.
Along the Lehigh River, which this is, I think a couple of times they had severe avalanches and mudslides were like, you have the Central Jersey coming up one side and the Lehigh Valley Railroad coming up the other. You would have 20 or 30 spots that were just inundated, and they'd have to go and fix it. Um, mountain coming down on them. So,
Wow.
every the railroaders still have to deal with this. I mean, things happen. Things get torn apart, ripped apart, flooded,
Yes.
you name it.
Do you,
And
by the way, not to interrupt, do you remember the train crash in Angola, New York? Oh, it's a scary one. If anybody doesn't remember that, I'll put the link in. It is a terrifying crash. And I lived not far from there for a long time. So it's a great book, too. So I'm going to put that link in. Don't let me forget, Alan, to put that
was
link
it
in.
was it a passenger?
Yeah. And it
Uh,
was back in the, I think it was late 1800s, and it was traumatic and horrible. It was the Angola, New York. Anybody look it up, they can find that book. I have the book, but it was scary.
yeah, there was one like that back in the early days where we lost a lot of German tourists who were here.
Oh,
Um, Again, it was a small mudslide across the railroad, and you can't see it at night. It even with their headlight, but you can't see it coming, and so everything
mm-mm.
goes, and the steam bursts, and it gets really bad fast. But yeah, so let's move on from there.
All
Uh,
right.
what do we have? Oh yeah,
You were going to play something for us
yeah. I better
to
turn my phone on.
correlate with this one. Yeah. If we can hear it, hopefully.
Ladies and gentlemen, while we're waiting for the shadow to return, I want to relay a bit of information I'm sure homeowners here in the New England states will find particularly interesting. When buying your winter supply of fuel, bear this in mind. Anthracite coal is ungood for home use. It is not a flashy fuel that burns furiously for a little while, then dies down completely. On the contrary, folks, anthracite burns slowly, steadily, evenly all day long, and so enables you to maintain an even, healthful room temperature. That's why anthracite is called the solid fuel for solid comfort. And friends, remember this. Furnaces, cook stoves, and space heaters in this section of the country were especially designed to burn anthracite. So, insist on anthracite. But get the
Anthracite.
order blue coal. It's America's finest. Blue coal is mined by the Glen Alden Company, the world's largest producers of Pennsylvania anthracite. To guarantee you the greatest heating satisfaction at the lowest cost, blue coal is laboratory tested for purity and uniformity of size. Well,
You see, it was really pure.
Yeah, it sounds like we're listening back then too. I feel like I was just taken back in time.
Shadow knows, yes. Well, it was, my grandfather, the conductor, he used to make wine in the basement. And he's down there in the basement, and grandma's up in the kitchen next to her stove. I think at that point, it might have been converted to gas. It used to be a coal stove. And she hears my grandfather muttering something over and over. So she opens the basement door and says, "John, what are you doing down there?" "The goddamn Glen Alden Company is taking its coal back. The damn company is taking its coal back."
Oh
"What are you
no.
talking about, John? What are you talking about?" "They're taking their coal back." And he'd sip another thing. Apparently, what had happened, since the whole thing was on top of coal mines, they would sometimes sink. And a crack opened up in the basement, and one end of the house settled 18 inches, and it was right underneath the coal bin, and all the coal went right back to the mine.
Jesus. Right back to the mine. Oh my goodness.
Taking their coal back.
All
So
right.
let's move on to
There's
something.
the coal cars, the current coal cars
Yeah, yeah.
started this up again. Well, tell
So,
us.
oh, this,
Yeah.
you know, that was probably one of the last deliveries to a power plant about 15 miles from me, right along the Delaware River. You can see the Kittatinny Ridge, the Appalachians in the background.
Okay.
This is like a 66 car train, and that was a typical thing because you really couldn't fit more cars in on the Y to do the runaround. Otherwise, you get your engine stuck out at the other end. You can't get back.
Yeah, back then. Yeah.
So, no, this is like just lately.
Oh, this is a recent. This isn't like 2011 or something.
Yeah, 2012. Yeah,
Okay, 2012. All right.
and yeah, we've jumped forward a few years. But
Okay.
those are real cars. They have the NS symbol on the side, and you know that power plant, the coal end of it is gone.
All
It's
right.
it's been done now for many years. Protests were done against it. 4 or 5 states went against it because the sulfur dioxide and other pollutants were coming right over to New Jersey and New York and Connecticut, and here we have the EPA saying we can't do anything about it. It's like it's crossing state lines.
Hmm.
And it took many, many years for them to. I think they finally shut when Obama and the EPA at that time were threatening to put real caps on how much carbon dioxide you could put out. So, being an older plant, it just wasn't worth doing anything with, and they shut that
All right.
portion. So, there you go. Um, but as I was talking about hills earlier,
Mm-hmm.
we had a railroad runs on steel, and it has steel wheels. And the reason it has steel wheels is because there's a lot of weight. You can't use wood. I think some composites have been made for certain special ones, but in general, it's steel on steel. And you don't stop real quickly sliding steel on steel. Even with all that weight, the contact point is about the size of a dime for each wheel. Now, coefficient of frictions are at most zero point 0.5, which is pretty good under ideal conditions, but generally it's much lower, oftentimes 0.2. And if you get leaves in the autumn, I've seen ones stalled out.
Really?
You get two curves and a gentle rise and some leaves, and you stop the train. And they keep trying, but they generally wait for a helper to come along and push from the back end.
Is
And
that the maintenance process? I mean, there's the whole maintenance process.
they do have, especially for passenger things, to come and blow it off. But
Uh
no,
huh.
generally they learned after this happened quite a number of times that they should add another engine, which is, they think of it as a waste of energy and fuel and equipment, but it's either that or you just keep sending out engines, or in case one time it happened was that the knuckle broke. And then the conductor has to carry a 75-pound knuckle back to wherever it's broken and toss the old one and replace the knuckle connecting wherever it snapped because of all the forces put on it. Because they take the slack out and then they pull hard to try and get things moving first and then get the other part going, and it doesn't always work.
So tell
Well,
us about this picture.
this is it's the same. The front engine is the gray one. That's another NS engine, but they made heritage engines of all the railroads that went defunct, essentially are gone. Monongahela, they had one for the DL&W, and of course for the Erie and all those. I don't know.
Yeah.
They made a whole cluster of painted engines, painted just like the original heritage ones, and that's the one in the front. And of course, the one facing rearward is their standard steam with the pony on front.
All right. Oh,
This is
like I have behind me with the pony
yeah,
on front.
yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. And this is in Phillipsburg on the main line, just as if you head west, you get to the Harrisburg area, and then onward through Pittsburgh and onward to East Palestine. But what it comes down to is you've got a lot of weight, you have a lot of wheels, but it's on steel, and the reason steel works is because it doesn't crush under the load, and it's efficient. It's a rubber tire on your car is nowhere near as efficient rolling efficiency. So
Right.
these things can do 250 to 500 miles to haul a ton on 1 gallon.
Woo!
They're about as efficient you're going to get without putting it on the ocean or as a canal boat. So, which we try to do. But in East Palestine, how fast could that train stop?
Yeah. All right.
And you have air brakes, which when the engineer throws the air brakes for the whole train, and there's two separate ones, one for the engines and one for the whole train, that sends a air pressure down the line, which opens up the valves to each car, and it moves at near the speed of sound.
All right.
However, they don't quite turn on all the way because that would be too much of a shock, I think.
Mm-hmm.
There's a restrictor that applies the brakes slower. So each one gets turned on, but it isn't fully on for a while. So that travels down the train, and to get fully on can, normally it will only take 5 or 6 seconds for the signal to get down, for the pressure to get down, but it can take a minute or more for the whole train to come to full braking. So it can go mile and a half, and if conditions are really bad, maybe longer.
All right.
Do we want to look at the? I'm not putting my other computer up right now. I think that was interfering with my signal here.
Okay. What do you want to look at? A video?
Oh, what was lined up next?
Oops. Wait, I gotta cancel something. Oh, I had this. This picture was this one again,
Mm-hmm.
and that was it for the pictures. What we
Okay.
have lined up next, besides
Mm-hmm.
showing your website, your YouTube here with all the videos that you have, you made quite a lot of videos. You are a rail buff, so if anybody wants to look at the videos, you can look at the videos. The next one was a vid, and did you want to show this vid and talk about it? Was this one?
Sure, we'll take a little break off of.
All
Yeah.
right, let me make sure
This is as you can tell by the large mountains behind it, at the train station, and this is a part of the Reading Blue Mountain in Northern, or Reading and Northern, as they call it,
All right.
train.
Yeah.
It's a tourist train. You can take rides on these things. They have both diesel and steam-powered tourist trains. They're a freight company, but the owner, it's a regional thing, and he loves to do this too. And if you were there, you'd be holding your ears, like that one guy is.
And remember, everybody's going to want to know about the steam. Look at all that steam. Mm-hmm. What happened to Alan? I think we lost Alan. He should come back. Okay, there he is.
Yeah, here I am again.
Yep, and the video's still on showing us what? Old trains, actually.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's a steam passenger line.
Do you want to keep going with this one?
No, we don't have to.
All right, so you get an idea, guys, of some of this. And then we had this one, which was laying
Okay.
rail, but let me shut that one off. Let me shut that one off. All right, and then the next one is laying rail. And we'll look at this for a little bit, and we don't have to watch the whole thing, but let's go.
Yeah, it looks like this is actually the a heritage railroad that survived, at least in name. Um, the Susquehanna and Western, and they're replacing rail. They do it. They don't do it the old way and stick. They have on rail trains, and you'll see in a moment how that's done. So what they do is it slides out and it falls down on on where the rails are. They've moved the old rail off to the side, and you're running on the old rail, but it drops down off to the side, and then they move it in.
A lot of stuff with rails. A lot of work. Yeah.
So you can move this a little further forward, I think, Sandy. Do you think you could move it up a little there? Okay, that's good. That's good. Maybe turn it up a little bit because it's going to be making some really cool sounds.
Planet eaters. Are these only for the railroad repair and maintenance?
That's it. They replace the rails every so often. Earlier, we saw some of the trains that look like they had sparklers all over them.
Okay.
And they're grinding the rails so that they don't have to do this as often. They reshape them, but they as rails get used, they get worn and they also get old, corrosion eventually, and so they get replaced.
Right.
And I think this year Norfolk Southern is going to replace over 500 miles of rail.
They said.
Well, they did it last year.
Okay.
Well, they actually have to do this,
Yeah,
One of
well,
the
they have
things
to.
to do is they have to maintain, otherwise they don't make any money.
Well, they make a lot of money.
True, and they really need to up their game on certain things. But they actually do a pretty good job on maintaining the bridges and the rail beds and putting in new rails. And we're at we're in a period of time when railroads, especially the big railroads, have a ton of money, and the smaller railroads get help. And You want to talk about pneumatic brakes?
Well, that was the next thing that we had on the hopper, in the hopper, was the pneumatic brakes, which is what a lot of people want to know about. And this was the article you sent me because I think that was the next thing in the hopper. We did that already. So here we go. What do you think? You want me to read a little bit of this, or how do you want to go here? What would you like me to do?
I'm just trying to find out where this came from.
This was the one you sent me from. Let me go in it. This was from Railway Technical. You sent it to me.
Was it one of the emails?
Yeah, it was in the email. And I don't know if I can pull up the email at the moment with screen sharing.
Okay.
But it was a good one. I thought it was a good one. Gave some good background about these, what they are. We don't have to go through the whole thing, but we could certainly talk about them a little bit because that's what people are interested in.
Okay, I'll be with you in just a moment. If you want to start reading it, go ahead.
I will. All right. So the electro-pneumatic brake was introduced in the early years of the 20th century in an attempt to overcome the lag in the operation of the pure air brake. So originally designed for subways or metros, electro-pneumatic brake systems are now common on mainline passenger railways and on some specialized freight operations. Its main advantage over air brakes is its speed of control and quick on-vehicle reaction times, giving instantaneous control of the whole train to the driver. Its speed of operation makes it ideal for automatic train operation. EB braking is not the same as ECP braking. ECP braking has been introduced recently in an attempt to overcome the drawbacks of the air brake system on long freight trains. So they want to talk about those EC brakes, and they go back through the background. Did you want me to continue going?
Okay. The real important part I think that everybody wants to hear is down near the bottom.
All right. EP control, brake cylinder pressure, EP variations, self-lapping brakes, retardation controller, variable load control, P-wire, three-step brake, brake blending. This is quite a comprehensive article. PBL 90 system, electrically controlled pneumatic brakes. I think this is where we want to be.
That's where we want to be. Now, if I could just find out where I put it.
Well, I'll read it, and then you could talk. A new form is currently being tested by a number of railroads in the U.S. It is known as the ECP and uses modern electronic techniques to overcome the air braking on long freight trains. The pure air control brake system invented by George Westinghouse in the 1860s is still used by almost all freight trains in the U.S. and many other parts of the world, but it suffers from two problems. It takes a long time for the air messages to travel along the train, and there is no graduated release. So, for example, the delay for reduction in train line pressure to travel from the leading locomotive to the rear of the 150 car can be 60 seconds. So also you have to fully release the brake and wait for the supply reservoirs to recharge before you can reapply. Electrical control sometimes can overcome these difficulties. So the ECP, electrically controlled pneumatic brakes, keyword being electrically, right? As opposed to electricity. Older systems fitted to passenger trains use several train wires to operate individual valves or variations in switching of the wires to control brakes. Most of these systems use a second train line for main reservoir air supplies, and they do not have the built-in two-way communications the ECP has. A car in an ECP brake train can do a self-diagnosis and report the information to the engineer if it only requires the standard train, line pipe. So there's the operating. How far do you want me to go into this?
Okay. We're now to power sources.
All right.
I'll do that if you want.
Okay, you got it? You ready? Let's go.
Okay, each car has a rechargeable battery to provide the high power requirements when solenoids need to be activated. When the high power is not being used, the batteries will trickle recharge from the communications power cable. Now, basically, you have a battery backup, and you have the hardwired system uses roughly 25% of its signal capacity for brake commands. It's a complicated electronic system, which gives you control, a lot more control, almost instantaneous control over each car, and you can apply as much brakes as you want. And one of the big benefits is on a standard pneumatic system, once you've applied the brakes, you take the brakes off, you cannot reapply them until not only do they come off, but they come off fully. There's no graduated release. They all come off at once, and you have to wait for a recharge of the pressure system, the ballast systems in there. So there's a delay, even if you want to stop again.
Okay.
You don't have that problem with this. So it's fast in both directions, and you have a lot more control. That means you can stop sooner, and you can control the stoppage, and there isn't so much forces from cars that aren't having their brakes applied in a chain. So the forces on the train are a lot less. I don't know exactly what went wrong out there in East Palestine. We may know in a few weeks. But I would say that from what I heard, it sounds like when they applied the brakes, that's when the derailment occurred. The failure had gone so far that applying the brakes did not help. I don't think any system may have helped in this case. It will help in other cases, but I don't know if in this particular system, with so much damage, that you wouldn't also get a instantaneous derailment. So once we get the report in a couple of weeks, we may know more as to just when they applied the brakes and relative to when the derailment occurred. They may be near simultaneous, if that's true. But still, I think that the ECP braking, especially on hazardous stuff, is probably a really good idea. And they do have the money now, and they do have some time. If our economics tank, well, it may never get done. So if they don't do it. However, regulatory was canceled in 2018. They started trying to get this on in 2015, and there's been a kind of a argument between various agencies testing these things. And the original stuff was done only from modeling, mostly, and there was stuff out in the field, but not enough information was getting back to the testing agencies. So there was always questions, and so with the pressure from not to have to spend the money if they didn't have to, then it got tailed in 2018.
All right. Well, now we have the article Train Braking DOT's rulemaking on electronically controlled pneumatic brakes could benefit. This was from 2016. Could benefit additional data and transparency. Tell me about why you chose this one.
All right. I was sort of just talking about that because we're running short on time.
That's all right. We have a little time.
Okay.
And then we have questions. So
you've got the Government Accountability Office going after the DOT, well, actually checking on the DOT's, the DOT-based estimate for the business benefits of electronically controlled pneumatic ECP brakes on limited data. This is what the GAO found. Because railroads that have used ECP brakes to date have shared limited data. So,
And that was in 16. Wow.
Yeah, well, they started trying to get this in I think 2014 or 2015. ECP brakes provide an electronic brake signal. We know that already. So we'll move down. But 7 of the 10 experts GAO interviewed who commented on such benefit estimates that the DOT's estimates of business benefits such as reduced fuel consumption were based on experiences that may not be representative. Okay, whatever that means.
You're the expert, buddy.
Representative of what? They don't
Where
say.
are we? Where are we? Why did they do, or are we going to go to recommendations?
In the middle of the first paragraph.
Oh, we're still all the way up there. Okay. Whoop.
Yeah.
Connection lost. All right, go ahead.
By acknowledging uncertainties and in the future requiring railroads to collect and provide DOT more data on the ECP brake use, DOT could improve its estimates and public confidence in those estimates. I don't know about the public confidence. The public meaning what, the railroads? I don't know.
Oh, hang on. Singing Way. We have that video. We have the video. She said, I'd love to see if there's a video evidence of being on fire before the derailment. We have it. We have it. So after he finishes this, we will look at that. I have it.
All right. So we can go way down here. That's a little too far. But basically what happened was the GAO said, there's not enough evidence. So they kind of kiboshed the DOT and went back and forth. And of course, Congress finally, under Trump, decided that it wasn't a good thing to do.
So the GAO did this study, and Trump administration said, so because this was back in 15 or 16, like it said. So their recommendations that
18 going back and forth, and it just finally got tabled.
All right.
So,
well, then I think we should.
However,
whoops,
if I might interrupt a little bit.
Yeah.
There are companies, including I think Westinghouse and a number of companies who are building these things. They are getting ready to have them put in. I think Westinghouse is holding back on going too far with it because they want everything done first by other companies. But there are a number of companies, some of them in New York, that are going forward with these things. And so if they're going forward with them and building them, and they'll be probably testing them in trains, we may see this eventually.
All right. Well, I think we should jump up a little bit. Besides talking about how awful they are, and Norfolk Southern's CEO Alan Shaw's winning formula, and then maybe we'll come back. But I want to go to this one because this one shows. It shows the video of it does. So it derailed in Palestine, Ohio last week at 8:12. February 3rd, the southbound freight train passed by Butech Bliss, an industrial equipment manufacturer in Salem. All right, so here we go, guys. We are going to show this. This is what you wanted, Singing Way. This is what you're going to get. And here we go. I need to go all the way back. Hang on a second. Let's go all the way back because you want to watch this whole thing. All right, here we go. This is a good one. See? Right there. Right there. Oh boy. You
20
see that?
miles.
Yep. So that was quite the bit of spark there that we saw. And it said there is, and people have been asking about the hot box. So on the railroad tracks in front of Freshmark, there is an instrument called a hot box detector, which scans the temperature of the passing train axles to ensure they are not overheated. If the device finds a problem, a defect detection alert sounds over the train radio, detecting a defect so hot that it would appear on fire would require the crew to stop the train immediately and inspect the problem, said Scott Wilcox, a retired Norfolk Southern, yeah, not Norfolk Southern engineer who worked on the Fort Wayne line, where trains travel between Chicago and the big rail yard in the Beaver County town of Conway. Hot box detectors are typically spaced every 20 miles to 30 miles apart. So tell us, what happened? Using this article and using your brain, what happened?
What happened?
Yeah, what happened? What happened?
Well, if the detectors are actually there, like they say, then the detectors failed. Or, and I don't like saying this, or the operators, they might not have heard it, or they just let it run. I don't really like saying that because I doubt if they would do that. But maybe the detectors failed, which is what the NTSB is trying to determine.
Right.
So,
And we will find that out.
well,
Yeah.
we will find that out shortly. In fact, I think I still have it up here. Oh yeah, here we go.
Let me see if this loads. Okay. Whoa. What's that noise? Turn it off. Turn it off. It was screaming. So this is defect detectors on the southern route. And here you can see 1, 2. What do you got playing there, Alan?
We're having a defect.
Milepost 178.8. Hot box north side axle 15. Hot box south side axle 15. Hot box north side axle 15. Hot box south side axle 15. Total axle 20. End of transmission.
So the hot box, there's counters. They count the number of wheels. The hot box detects and sends a message if it has a fault, and also they'll get the count anyway, so they know the train is all there. But it will tell you what wheel. It said wheel 15 out of the 20. So it should. This is what they should hear, or something like it, depending upon the railroad.
Thank you, Bongo Dave. They've been created for shareholders, though. Jeez. We've got a lot of questions coming up. Holy crap. Let's see what we've got, what we had coming up next. All right. So basically, we have a lot of questions, and I think we're going to take the questions and answers now. What do you think? All right. Yeah, I think we're going to do that. All right, let me get us back to being just us, and we'll look at some questions and answers on this. I've enjoyed this. I really have. All right, so, well, first of all, was Vag. Thomas the Train was exploited by Sir Topham Hatt, who stole his pension and sold him off for parts. Very sad. Okay, that was cute. Wow, play that. That was a good one.
I have an answer for that.
You do? What's the answer? What's the answer?
Thomas caused too much confusion and delay.
All right, that's good. Angry, old. This was a while back. He said the Norfolk Southern problem was the lack of a hot box detectors. The in-cab engineer gets VHF radio recorded messages informing them that a hot box passed their location. FS ignored it, ignored the hot box reports. Well, that's going to be found out. What do you say to that?
I say we should wait for the NTSB report on that one because that is probably about as bad as it can get. Let's see. Here it is. Okay. I'll just read a little bit of NTSB, all right? Okay. NTSB investigators have identified and examined the rail car that initiated the derailment. Surveillance video from a residence showed what appears to be a wheel bearing in the final stage of overheat failure. They said final stage. Mm-hmm. Moments before the derailment. So they even have more video than we do. The wheel set from the suspected rail car has been collected as evidence for metallurgical examination. Okay. The suspected overheated wheel bearing has been collected and will be examined by engineers from the NTSB Materials Laboratory in Washington, D.C. The tank cars are currently being decontaminated. Once the process is complete, NTSB investigators will return to Ohio to complete a thorough examination of the tank cars. Vinyl chloride tank car top fittings and relief valves removed and secured in the locked intermodal container. They'll be investigated. NTSB has obtained locomotive event recorder data, forward and inward facing image recording data, and wayside defect detector data. NTSB investigators continue to review documentation, event recorder data, and perform interviews. A preliminary report is expected to publish in 2 weeks. So we should know soon. Right. Or at least have an idea of what really happened because they're hitting it on all cylinders.
All right. Well, let's go to the questions. Singing Way. I would like to hear your opinion of the technology on the Palestine train compared to Japanese and European trains of today.
I don't really have an opinion because I don't know all of their safety things. I'm pretty much a regional and,
a regional local rail historian right here in the East Coast.
I know several states, and I've also looked at some of the stuff out west, but I haven't really looked too much at other countries, so I can't really say.
Okay. All right. And she has one more. Then you don't know how the technology compares. That was the same question. All right. So Poppy Davis. Oh, shit. I lost it. Oh, no. I'm sorry, Poppy. If you remember your question, ask it again. Singing Way again. Was the train overweight?
Well, that's kind of a nebulous question. The total train weight? I doubt it. But it was pretty much at maximum for what they should be doing, and maybe they should reconsider having a lot of hazardous material on trains that are that large.
Oh, absolutely. Jeez, it's insanity. All right, how about this one? Is there a black box in a train situation?
Apparently, according to the NTSB article I read, there is all recorded data. There's recorded data, there's recorded audio, there's recorded video. Yes.
Okay. All right. And Nicholas Miller, which I lost again. I'm clicking the wrong things. I'm sorry, guy. Nick asked about Amtrak, sorry. How Europe and all these other countries get sophisticated and we get Amtrak. And I've ridden I used to ride Amtrak back and forth from Buffalo to New York. Oh, wait. Really quickly, I'm going to get this in. My father, bio dad, wrote a book. I'm going to get this in. The PCC car, the original PCC car. My father, I grew up with rail buffs in my family. This is my bio dad who died in 2007. He was a transportation engineer. He designed systems. So, but he loved this. And these were green energy. In a way. They were greener than other things. Okay, so I got my little thing in. All right, there you go. What?
Show
What?
some pictures from the book.
Some pictures from the book. Oh my goodness. All right. Well, I didn't pick any pictures. It's going to be a little harder for me to do this. Pictures from the book.
Oh, cool.
And let's see what the old ones on the back. Okay, these were the old days, and my mic is sort of okay. Can you see a little bit the PCC cars?
Yes.
Yeah, it's a cool book. I mean, it's very much in. Actually, it's hard to get the book now, and it's now like a lot of money, and it wasn't so. Anyway, I don't want to talk about that. I want to get the questions. Scott, isn't it true that there used to be more workers manning each train?
Yes. Back in my grandfather's day, you might have 5 or 6 people working a train. But now they only have 2, and sometimes they're trying to get 1, which I think is a nightmare.
Of course it's a nightmare.
I mean, it's bad enough with just 2. You have the conductor who actually runs the train, is responsible for the train, and you have the engineer, and that's it. And that's usually all that there is. We have advantages of instant radio communication and other advantages, but you're still out there. You're out there in the middle of nowhere. Anything can happen, or you're right in the middle of the city, right? Who knows what can happen in a city? So honestly, having extra guys probably was a big advantage, and it didn't wear the workers out.
Do you have our stream on in the background on your computer or anything? You don't have it on, do you? I thought I was hearing myself. If you do, turn the volume all the way down.
No.
All right. Sorry, I just I got a little. Maybe it's just feedback on my end. Okay, let's go back. Mario, hi, Mario. Hi, Mario, joining from Facebook. How come communities are not warned ahead of time that there are hazardous chemicals being transported in our communities? And that's a really good question. How come? Why?
Well, I think you must assume that if there's a road, especially a highway, or a train track going through your town, that yes, there are hazardous materials going through quite often. And you just have to assume that. And you'll see that they'll have tags on the side. And these tags will have a number. And if you see, and you can interpret these numbers and the little symbols, like a flame or some red triangle or whatever, on these placards that they have to, by law, have on the side. And you can just stand there and watch things like trucks and trains go by and see what is really going by just by looking up a table of that number and matching it to what it might be, propane, it might be anything.
The bomb trains. That's all it is. It's bomb trains. Now we know.
Yeah.
Okay. We asked Scott. Kim. So what are we going to do about it? Basically, what are we going to do about it? Fix this problem. I mean, we know that these guys from Norfolk Southern think they've got it all together. Why don't you tell us a little bit about that?
Oh, they think they have it all together?
Well, you sent me their information. You sent me the information. I could pull it back up again, and we could look really quickly at the information you sent me, which was about their Norfolk Southern CEO winning
Oh,
formula analysis and
yeah.
how, yeah. I mean,
This
they think they do.
this is their operating plan.
Yeah. We'll
Capital.
put all these links are going to be in the show notes. So
This is their.
see,
You have the capital plans up next, which are different than their operating plans. I think you really
okay.
want to see their operating plans because the capital plans are just things they're going to spend money on and rebuild infrastructure and raise tunnels and do stuff that needs to be done, fix bridges.
So the growing volumes over long-term railroads will break the cycle of service disruptions. Is this the one?
What's the title on that one? Yes, his winning formula.
Yeah, this is the CEO who's probably in a whole heap of shit right now. Uh, we're not going to go into this, but guys, if you want to read this, it is in the show notes, okay? And he just said our traditional approaches for dealing with business cycles by furloughing temporarily surplus employees and tightening other spending when demands fall off, did not work well. Do you think? Jeez. You think? All right, we're going back. We're going back here to do the questions because we are going long. But
Basically, he admits that mainline railroads are screwing up repetitively, and he's not going to listen to Wall Street so much.
you
And that
think?
was months before this accident.
Well, Wall Street. It's all, yeah, yeah. You said that all about it's all about the money. All right, let's see. Let's go to, okay, Mandy. Question, Alan. What could be done to help improve the system?
Okay, I think that one of the things that might be done, depending on the results of the NTSB, is put in extra hot box detectors and other fault detectors. Make sure that they're maintained well, and reduce the size of the trains that have hazardous stuff in them. I mean, reduce their size and take other precautions. They've been
I
increasing
agree
the
to that. Although,
thickness of the walls of the tank cars for a while. It takes a long time in these giant systems.
all right.
There are other things where they can put, wrap them with other things and such. That some of that has been done. The actual um, loss of hazardous materials. What is that?
I don't know. It sounds like something's playing at your end. I can hear the music like your speaker's picking it up. Make sure if you have the YouTube up that it's all the way down.
I don't have the YouTube up.
That's weird. All right. Well, we're doing fine. We're doing fine. We're doing fine.
Never. I don't think I put it up. Let's see. Yeah, there's the only thing I have is emails. Well,
Well, it sounds like it's playing somewhere. And it isn't me. All right, listen, we're going to go to another one. Gazer, hi Gazer. Overheated wheel bearings can basically friction weld. That is one hell of a way to break a wheel. What do you think?
yeah, I think it did more than break a wheel. I
Jeez,
think
you
it
think?
started a fire that
We
spread
saw
not
it.
only across the car, but back to another car behind it, from what I saw. Okay, so we got two cars on fire with who knows what in them. Probably not the stuff that we're worried about, but who knows. It looked to me like they were solid dump cars, but something was burning, and it was burning a lot. There's not much you're going to do because what will happen is the whole truck will fail,
Oh.
and then you get the derailment. If the problem is catching it sooner, if they had more detectors and made sure all the detectors worked, then you might.
Yeah. Uh-oh. Alan, we lost Let me see if you're still here with me. You're still here with me. Well, anyway, if we've lost Alan, he could come back out and in again. But if not, I do have a video to play to take us out. I don't know what happened to Alan, but this has been pretty good. I hope you guys have enjoyed this and learned a little. We've talked about it. Hi, Snork. I saw you were here. Yeah, there's a lot of comments, but I don't think we can continue with Alan unless Alan goes back out and comes in. I think we've done pretty good though, right, Guy? All right, everybody, listen. I'm going to find that video and play it. He wanted me to play this video at the end, and it was right here, and so here we go. Oh, wait, stop playing it. Hang on. I need to get back into the overlay. Okay, hang on, guys. We're going to play this little one and get our little sound effects back on, and we will play this. All right, now let's hope you can hear this. I don't know what happened to Alan. Alrighty, play.
Not coming back.
Oh, you're back. I think you're back. We just don't see you. Oh, this is cute. This is what you wanted to play at the end.
Look at that. It's hovering there for you. It's just hovering for you. Gotcha.
I think the only thing that's wrong here is that you're frozen. That's all. Look how cute. Into the mine. Oops. All right. I think I lost it. All right, guys. All right. It's making an awful lot of noise. I think I lost it. All right, guys. Holy shit, that's loud. It's making an awful lot of noise. I can't. I lost it. All right, I lost it. It's over. I'm sorry, guys. I lost it. Oh, there it was. It was your video. Okay, that was cool. Sorry about that, everybody, but we are going to end the show. Alan's a little frozen. I want to thank everybody for coming. We really, really, really appreciated you coming. And thank you. I hope you learned something, Alan. I mean, you can come back in and out again, but oh, you're moving now, Alan. All right, what do you want to say for the end, Al? You're here, Alan. Have you got something to say, hon? I don't know if he can even hear me. All right, guys. We are done. Love you guys. Love you guys. We're going to play. We're going to do the Flush Norfolk Southern.